the CSW. Our presentation is Equipping and Empowering Women in the Modern World, how social media and digital platforms for fertility education and family planning has led to empowerment for women from all walks of life. We're very pleased to see you all here today. My name is Monica Lampton, and I am part of the WOMB International UN team. I am in Vancouver, Canada, and we have team members from all over the world, and they'll be introducing themselves as we go through the session today. I just wanted to let you know a little bit about what to expect from our workshop. We have a 90-minute workshop planned with a number of speakers. At the end of 90 minutes, we will switch gears. We will stay on the same workshop link, so you don't need to go anywhere. You can stay with us, but we will switch gears to talk specifically about the Billings ovulation method. The presenters today will be talking about how they have used the information we have from the Billings ovulation method, as well as other benefits from the method around fertility education and awareness and women's empowerment. And they'll be talking about how they're using that in the important work that they do. If you're asking yourself, what is this Billings ovulation method? Or maybe I've heard about it, but I don't really know much about it. Today is the day where you have an opportunity. At the end of the 90-minute workshop, we'll be showing a short 10-minute video on the method itself. And then we will open up to the whole group question and answer specifically on the method. So we'll have a question and answer on the workshop, and then we'll also later have a question and answer on the method. So if you have questions about your own situation, or questions about the method itself, or anything that you've heard, that will be the time to join us. So I wanted to let you know that we're looking at the Billings ovulation method and how digital platforms and using social media have helped us to spread the word all around the world. So we'll begin with a speaker that will look at spreading the news that there is something called natural family planning and the Billings ovulation method. And then we'll hear from another speaker who has leveraged a digital platform to bring the news far and wide, specifically to rural and Indigenous communities. And then we'll look at how the digital platform and doing distance learning has helped us train more teachers around the world. And then we'll have a witness video of teachers who are in training in Uganda, and they'll share with us their experience of what it has been like, the advantages and the challenges of using digital learning. And then that will be followed by the Q&A, and then followed by the general presentation on the Billings ovulation method. So that is our outline for today. If you have any questions about what you're hearing, we're asking you to leave it for the question and answer time. And you can put your questions in the chat of the Zoom. And for those of you who are on the WOVA platform through the UN, you can put your questions into that digital chat if you prefer. We'll be monitoring those and bringing them up in the Q&A part of the session. If you do have any technical questions, you can go ahead and put those in the chat. We'll try to address them as well as we can. We are a very large group today, so we'll do the best we can to take your specific issues. And so on that, I would like to turn things over to Allison, who will introduce our first speaker.
Thank you, Monica. My name is Allison Dreher, and I'm coming to you from near New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a promoter and instructor for the Billings ovulation method and a member of the WOMB NGO team to the United Nations. Today, I'm going to introduce Julia Schuler to you. She's from Nashville, Tennessee. Julia is the founder of the Birth Control App, a future public benefit corporation on a mission to improve the standard of women's health care. After sharing her story from hormonal to natural birth control on TikTok, she quickly acquired over 20 million views, 120,000 followers, and a feature on BuzzFeed. Julia is a Dean Scholar at Vanderbilt's MBA program and has marketing experience at 3 Fortune 500 companies, Merck, Hershey, and Procter & Gamble, as well as project management experience in website design and development. Today, she will recount her own health journey away from oral contraceptives to fertility awareness and how sharing that journey on TikTok went viral. So often, we are told that women in the general population are satisfied with their birth control. Julia has data that says otherwise. She is also working on a fertility awareness birth control app through her postgraduate studies at Vanderbilt. She has an impressive list of mentors through the university and hopes to get FDA approval for this app. Julia's work truly embodies this year's priority theme: innovation and technological change and education in the digital age for achieving gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls. Please join me in welcoming Julia Schuler.
Thank you so much, Allison, and hello, everyone. I'm so honored to be here today and to share my story with you all. Can I just get a thumbs up to make sure you can see my screen? Good to go, awesome. As Allison mentioned, my background and expertise is in marketing, but my passion is to empower women. This passion began during my undergraduate years, where I co-authored academic articles with faculty on gender equality and social media. During that time, my health took a turn for the worse, and my passion became very personal. My story begins the summer between my junior and senior year of college. I had been selected for Penn State's Washington internship program and had just moved out of my parents' home for the first time. I relocated to DC for the summer, where I interned for a nonprofit and worked part-time at NBC. I was so excited for this opportunity, but soon after I got there, I started experiencing severe lower back pain and pelvic pain. This pain then turned into stomach issues, bladder issues, and a whole host of women's health problems. So rather than spending my time building my career, I spent my time at urgent care. Unfortunately, the doctors that I saw could not figure out what was wrong, so I made appointments with specialists for when I returned home to Pennsylvania. However, many of the doctors that I saw looked at me like I was crazy and dismissed the real symptoms that I had been experiencing for months. I spent the next 3 years searching for someone that could help me. Over this 3-year period, I saw over 20 doctors and accumulated a ton of medical debt. During this time, I was graduating from college, moving out on my own, getting engaged, and beginning my first full-time job. There was a lot of reasons to celebrate, but I was consistently held back by my body. My physical and mental health worsened to the point where I quit my job with no backup plan and moved home to my parents' house for a short period of time. I was at an all-time low until a friend recommended that I see Dr. Danielle Miller, who helped me get to the root cause of my health issues. After a short time of working together, she suspected that many of my symptoms may be side effects of the birth control pill that I had been on for 10 years at that point. She recommended that I come off the pill and use natural family planning to avoid pregnancy without the side effects. And I'm not gonna lie, I may have thought she was a little crazy in that moment because it was very normal for me to be on birth control. But it ended up being one of the best decisions of my life. Not only did my physical and mental health improve drastically, I was also amazed that I could pinpoint what day I was ovulating and avoid pregnancy without taking hormones. Soon after I came off the pill, Dr. Miller diagnosed me with PCOS and hypothesized that the pain that I started experiencing 3 years ago was likely endometriosis. She referred me to an endometriosis surgeon that confirmed this diagnosis. I was shocked to learn that I had been unknowingly suppressing symptoms of endometriosis and PCOS for the past 10 years while I was on the pill. I was so excited, but this experience showed me that the standard of women's health today is to suppress or ignore period problems with hormonal contraceptives. However, natural family planning allowed Dr. Miller to diagnose and treat my endo and PCOS holistically. I was so excited to finally understand what was happening in my body that I shared my story on TikTok. I had learned so much about how my body worked, and I couldn't believe that it took me 25 years to learn this information. 6 short months after sharing my story, I had over 20 million views, 120,000 followers, and a feature on BuzzFeed. It was then that I realized that most women have no idea how their bodies work and that there are natural alternatives to contraceptives like the pill. I also made videos about my experience with endometriosis on YouTube and created resources for women struggling with this condition. Although I'm not a doctor, I had a deep desire to help women in any way that I could, and my skills in marketing and video came in handy to do so. I made resources like this endometriosis surgery checklist, and I shared it publicly for anyone going through the same struggle that I had experienced myself. I started to receive hundreds of comments like this every day from women struggling with birth control. I was also receiving direct messages from women around the world with different religious and economic backgrounds. Most of these women had little to no knowledge of natural family planning, but they were amazed to learn that you could avoid pregnancy simply by tracking biomarkers. I wanted to continue to help these women. However, I wasn't a fertility coach or a doctor, and unfortunately, not everyone could see Dr. Miller or the fertility coach who initially helped me. The more I dove into the online female community, the more I realized that I wasn't alone. Even celebrities like Hailey Bieber, Annie Murphy, and Michaela Nojira were sharing their stories coming off birth control. Millions of women then began to open up about their experience with birth control on social media. Today, the topic of birth control has over 4 billion impressions on TikTok alone, with birth control problems and natural birth control being 2 of the leading hashtags. If you search one of these hashtags on TikTok, you can watch story after story of women sharing their negative experiences and coming off birth control with little to no backup plan. For me, the side effects of birth control were a long list of physical and mental symptoms that interfered with my everyday life. For some women like Hailey Bieber, the side effects are a mini stroke. Even more women experience mental health problems, low libido, and weight gain every day. I also noticed that many women have an increasing desire to lead a more natural and healthy lifestyle. Birth control simply doesn't fit with that lifestyle and often leaves women feeling unlike themselves due to the unnatural suppression of hormones. And the stats in the medical community back up what millions of women are already saying online. 1 in 3 sexually active women using birth control stop use within the first year, largely due to the side effects. Over half of women stop use within the second year, which is over 14 million women in the United States alone. Many of these women have not been exposed to natural family planning due to the state of today's healthcare system. So my question became, how can I help the millions of women coming off birth control and looking for a natural alternative? My experience on social media led me to believe that women valued video education that could be viewed at their convenience. TikTok taught me this, but there was also a lot of misinformation on that platform. The unfortunate reality is that many women are coming off birth control and trying to figure out natural family planning on their own. They're doing this by piecing together TikTok videos and Google searches instead of learning an established method with a fertility coach. I knew that I needed to solve this problem and create a credible and readily available solution for these women. So one day last March, I emailed Dr. Miller, the doctor who changed my life, with what I called a women's health dream. And I'm very excited to share what we spent the past year creating together. We call it the Birth Control app, and its purpose is to meet the overwhelming demand of women coming off birth control and seeking a natural alternative. Our target audience is women who have not yet been exposed to natural family planning, but are eager to avoid pregnancy without hormones. Our app teaches women how to observe and track cervical fluid to avoid pregnancy naturally. Although many natural family planning apps exist today, the Birth Control app is the first to provide remote, asynchronous video education on how to track cervical fluid. The app also has an advanced algorithm that determines if a woman is fertile or not day by day based on what she tracks. Here's a sneak peek of how it works. First, you learn how to observe and track cervical fluid via video education with a team of vetted doctors. Your learning plan takes less than an hour to complete and it can be done in the comfort of your own home and at your own convenience. You learn how to observe bleeding, lubrication, moisture, and discharge, and how to track these biomarkers in our app. You then check your learning with a short quiz, which must be passed before you can access the rest of the app's features. After you pass, you track what you observe each day through a 2 to 5 step daily questionnaire. This questionnaire is based on the science of the Billings ovulation method and becomes your new nighttime routine, taking 1 minute or less to complete. If you forget any part of your learning plan, you can easily be reminded how to track via short reminders within the questionnaire. This includes 30-second videos and written summaries of what you learned. Or you can connect with a fertility coach for specific questions. The app's algorithm then learns your unique patterns over time based on what you track each day. It uses this data to determine if you're fertile or not each day and give you insights into your hormone health. In this example, a woman is tracking a pattern of dryness over a period of several days following menses, so the app tells her that she is in a basic infertile pattern during her follicular phase. There's no way that I could have created this technology on my own. Dr. Miller brings 15 years of expertise as a physician in this space and has led the creation of the app's algorithm. Our team also includes experts in Billings science, including a reproductive physiologist and fertility coach. In an effort to bridge the gap between the natural family planning community and conventional women's health protocols, we also added a conventional OBGYN to our board of advisors. Another addition to our advisory board is an expert in software engineering and entrepreneurship. We began this journey a year ago, but we made real progress when we learned the Billings ovulation method and applied that science to our algorithm. This enabled us to complete a prototype with over 15 iterations and to receive funding from the National Science Foundation to continue work on app development. Most recently, we won a national pitch competition which provides funding, marketing, and legal services. As a next step, we're kicking off fundraising for software development and to begin the FDA process. Although our app's algorithm is based on a natural family planning method, we believe that we can reach the most women by marketing the app as a digital contraceptive with FDA clearance. This not only conveys credibility, it also allows us to reach women with little to no knowledge of natural family planning, including those women that search for natural birth control online. To reach these milestones, we're seeking $600,000 from investors. This will take our prototype to an FDA-ready digital contraceptive and kick off a 1-year clinical trial to determine the efficacy of the app. This goal is rooted in our mission to improve the standard for women's health. Looking back at my story, it's clear that my pain turned into purpose. This purpose is similar to that of the founders of the Billings ovulation method. Evelyn Billings believed that natural family planning is knowledge that every woman should have. She began this incredibly important work, and it has made an impact on thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of women, including myself. But today, we have an incredible opportunity. Now we can spread this knowledge even further through modern technology, the internet, and social media. Now we can equip and empower millions of women around the world. That is my purpose. And I invite you all to join me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julia. We are so very inspired by your work. It's also very important to note that according to FNS, these femtech companies are poised to become a $50 billion industry by 2025. It is time for a digital revolution in women's health market, and we are excited to see innovations like Julia's. Womb International has been at the forefront of this revolution for many years. One of our approved digital charting systems, nfpcharting.com, has been active since 2007 and was found by FACTS, the Fertility Awareness Collaborative to Teach the Science, to be the #1 non-predictive fertility awareness app available in 2016. I will put the link to that research in the chat in a minute. All 3 womb-approved charting apps do connect users to a certified teacher with the click of a button. Billings has been sharing the message of authentic women's healthcare for decades, and being the only method successfully trialed by the World Health Organization makes it uniquely positioned to meet the growing demand for reliable information. The science supporting the Billings ovulation method is the foundation for most, if not all, other natural methods available today. Fertility Pinpoint, NFPcharting.com, and the Billings app are active and attract many users around the world. Additionally, our online education platforms are reaching women in rural communities as well as Indigenous populations with the empowering message of fertility awareness and natural family planning. These programs are concrete examples of how to address challenges and opportunities in achieving gender equality and the empowerment of rural women and girls, which is the review theme for this year's Commission on the Status of Women. Teen Star is one such program. Teen Star, a developmental curriculum founded by Dr. Hannah Klaus, who is with us today. Hello, Hannah. Helps adolescents and young adults come to terms with their emerging sexuality and fertility, and assists them in making responsible decisions. Beginning with the physical, the young person can then integrate the intellectual, emotional, social, and spiritual aspects of their persona and mature into a fully integrated human being. Miguel Del Rio Vigil comes to us from Santiago, Chile, and is the executive director of Teen Star Chile since 2013. He is a graduate in business and administration and a postgraduate in affectivity and sexuality from the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile. He has worked for 15 years in the application of the Teen Star Affectivity and Sexuality program with children and adolescents. He is a speaker for Teen Star Chile and Teen Star International, with lectures in Brazil, the United States, Italy, Spain, Australia, Argentina, and others. Miguel is also adjunct professor at Catholic University of Murcia, Spain, in the postgraduate course, Expert in Affectivity and Sexuality. He is also co-author of several publications, including Ovulation, A Sign of Health, and the Teen Star Curriculum Manuals for Monitors. Please join me in welcoming Miguel Del Rio Vigil.
Thank you very much, Alison, for this invitation, and hello, everybody. Thanks for being here with us. Also would like to thank Julia for her hard work and everything that she has accomplished up to now, and hopefully we will see you soon in many more BuzzFeeds and other social media pages and portals. So thank you, Julia. Also, I'm very happy to have the founder of the Teen Star program with us here today, Hannah Klaus. I would like to greet her especially since she has done a lot of great work with spreading the word of Teen Star. So I would like to share with you a little bit of what Teen Star is, and then I will share with you an experience we had during the COVID pandemic, the 2020 year, regarding giving Teen Star via Zoom and the challenge that we faced on this subject. So let me start by telling you what Teen Star is. Teen Star is an educational program on sexuality and affectivity for children and adolescents in cooperation with their parents. This is very important for us. We also, every time we try to include parents in their teachings. So Teen Star respects the dignity of the human person and teaches a holistic sexuality, as Alison has already stated. Our main objectives are to strengthen self-esteem and identity, to deliver sex education to children and youth, to develop the capacity to make decisions, and to promote the value of sexuality and the gift of life. This will be addressed throughout the course that the students receive during the Teen Star program. So what are our main premises? First, we think that we should start from what's given. It is very important for us that the children and the adolescents know themselves. We know that in this online era, it is quite difficult to get correct and proper information on what we are given. We also believe that it's important to generate communities. So in this sense, we try to teach adolescents that the most important goal is to be able to love and to be loved. Also, we try to give them the real meaning of intimacy, which is to exist in the heart of another. So we will go through this in the Teen Star curriculum starting as soon as ages 3 to 4 years old. Some of our characteristics are also that we will never abandon the physical part of the human being, which guarantee a holistic being. We will try to integrate affect and reason, and we will also respect the natural processes that are occurring throughout the person's life. It is also very important to us to remind that we do not face a problem, but we face a person in a particular moment of their life. And this is very different. I would like to start, for example, with Julia. I'm so sorry, Julia, this is completely off script, right? But when I was hearing your story, I mean, it's very important that many of the healthcare professionals usually start seeing things as a problem, and they forget that behind that problem, we have a real person. So we really try to encourage this in the adolescents and in the teachers, that we are not facing problems, rather we are facing persons. And this is very, very important for us, since we have met a lot of Julias during our life, and we really don't want them to be becoming a regular thing. So Teen Star forms young people that are free, informed, and responsible in their decisions and commitments. And this is very important for us as well. We really want them to be as informed as they can, so that they might take right decisions regarding their lives and regarding what they want. So this is kind of the main question then. Are we facing problems, or are we facing people, person? So what we are going through is the personalistic model, which in time tells you that you should not just act, but you should also use the contemplation. What does this mean? We should be looking at the people, at the person first, and then we should take some actions rather than just take actions. We live in the digital era and the immediate era. I mean, when you Google something, or if you TikTok something, it will give you an answer in just a few seconds. But if you're working with young people and with adolescents, you must remind them that things in the natural way are not an automatic response as Google or TikTok. Things have their own time. And it's very important to know them and to be able then to generate a creative alternative, which means that we know that there is no cooking recipe for each person out there. What we can do is give some main criteria and a lot of information, so that everybody is really able to make the best decisions for themselves. So this is Teen Star in a very, very short way. And I would like to then start talking to you about our experience in the implementation of Teen Star in Temuco. Temuco is in the southern part of Chile, which is also the region that the Mapuches, the indigenous people of Chile, are located. They are also indigenous to Argentina, and they have been in conflict with the Chilean government dating back the 19th centuries. So you can see here, this is a school that we did the online experience of giving them Teen Star. And on the right side of your screen, you will see a picture of a volcano and an araucaria, which is a very autochthonous and a particular tree that only grows in this region of the world. So just for you to get an idea, we are deep south, right? Chile is in the deep south of the world, and Temuco is even southern. It's in the southern part, so you might expect a lot of snow, cold weather, a lot of rain. And the indigenous people of Chile, the Mapuches, are nowadays really struggling to be able to have some of their principal rights restituted. And as it has happened in many parts of the world, it was a difficult relationship between the government and the indigenous in the past century. So in this context, then we had the COVID pandemic, which you might remember very, very well, that didn't allow us to give out the Teen Star training program as we used, which it was face-to-face, but rather we had to change our strategy and we did it online. So this was a first-time experience for us that had two major complications. One, it was the online giving of Teen Star, and two, it was the particular region that we were located, since in this time there was let's say year 2019 and 2020, we had some very, very big conflicts between the government and the Mapuches in that region. So that was the context in which TeenStar was given, and we tried to do our best, but we faced some challenges. The first one, the curricular adaptation for the online sessions, since we didn't know how to deliver TeenStar via Zoom. We had to do a little of a research and try to come up with the best tools available for us to really be able to provide an TeenStar experience for the young people, which we know it's very important. Then for the teachers giving out the program to the young people, they had to learn many, many new online platforms, not only Zoom or whatever, or Teams or the platform that they were using, but also learn to use some educational resources such as Mentimeter or many, many others. We also had to struggle with parents' involvement, since they didn't want them to be receiving sexual education via Zoom. They thought it was too impersonal and not at all appropriate. Last, we did an online survey as evidence of the results. We really wanted to see if it was the same, if we experienced some difference between the online and the face-to-face session, but mostly we wanted to be sure that we didn't lose any of our quality of the program via the Zoom or Teams app that were the ones that we used. So how did we do this? We took some young people ages 14 to 18. We did 45-minute sessions via Zoom every 15 days. One of our main, let's say, surprises was that this was the highest attendance rate of all online sessions. Since we were in the COVID pandemic, of course, all of the schools started giving out the lectures via Zoom. And they had a very, very big struggle with attendance to these classes. TeenStar had the highest attendance among all the other sessions. This was a big, big surprise for us, since we thought that the young people won't be interested in continue their sex ed education via Zoom. So this was very encouraging for us, learning that they wanted to keep receiving the program. There was a fourth characteristic of the program. It was a voluntary participation. Since we were working with a lot of rural areas, we knew internet was an issue. Many of them didn't have a great internet connection, so it was difficult for them to connect, but still many of them got into our sessions. So here you have one of the pictures. Please keep in mind, I have the permission to show this. They let me. And here you might find that it might seem strange that we have a mixed group, since we have some men and some women in this class. It was our last session, that's why we have them in the same session, but we did some mixed sessions and some separate sessions. What did we teach them? What did we talk about? It was, of course, ovulation charting. So what we wanted to keep going was on the first sessions of TeenStar that are really most the physical part. And here is the result of these sessions. You will see here another picture of them. And here I have the permission to show you four different cycles of different women that we work with them. So you might, as Billings teacher, start immediately to say, oh, are they long ovulatory or anovulatory cycle? And this is what we went with them. We saw, and we really, it was very encouraging for us to know that they were charting. You see, you delivered this session to a lot of black squares. Many of them, as you saw, didn't turn on their cameras because they didn't want it to be seen. They were in the houses, so it was quite difficult. But then we had a great result, seeing that they were charting. And this was very, very unique for us. We thought that via Zoom, we didn't get these results. We were not going to be able to get some charts. That was our main concern, especially thinking that we didn't use any apps. We asked them to do it on paper. So we sent a piece of paper via email They printed out on their home houses, and then they started charting. Of course, I did the transformation to digital, but these are taken from the real pieces of papers that we got delivered in our emails. So then we wanted to see what was their experience and what were the results on this TeenStar application via Zoom. So first, we saw an improvement in self-perception. All of the students reported that they felt better with themselves, that now that they knew themselves and what they were going through, let's say pubertal and adolescent changes, they really felt that they were a person that was, let's say, that was really a lovable person. So improve of a self-perception, then increase trust with adults. What happened? During the online sessions, we knew that behind the kids, there were the parents listening as well. So for us, it was a bit of a challenge because we thought that then the adolescents won't be able to speak as free as they would like to because of their parents being on their backs. But what we learned is that this really enabled some different conversations between kids and their parents, and they felt more close and more in trust with their significant adults. In other words, with their parents. This was a huge result for us. We had a lot of emails from their parents asking like, hello, Miguel, I'm really interested in these subjects, but I don't know anything. And my kid is starting to ask some questions. Can you help me, please? So we also had some parents teaching, some parents sessions just to be able to answer some of their questions. So this increased trust mainly was given because of a new way of communicating with the parents. They reported that they felt more that the parents, that now that the parents knew them, their parents really started to, let's say, empowering them into live their adolescence. Also, we saw post sexual activity initiation, which in Chile is around 13 years of age. In this group, we saw that this got delayed. Decreased pregnancy rates with that TeenStar has already proven, but the main surprise for us, it was that even though TeenStar was being given in an online manner, this result stayed. And the last, but of course not the least, result was a better knowledge of ovulation and fertility signs. Also, an important result for us was hearing the male version of this. We also went through ovulation and the fertility signs of women with the males, and they stated that they felt that they were able to comprehend their mothers and their sister in a better way now that they knew what they were going through. One of them, and his name was Javier, told us explicitly, I thought that my mom was crazy, but now that I know all their hormones, I know it's not craziness, it's just hormonalness. So what he meant, it was that for him, it was impressive to know that women had all these hormones making not only a change in their cervical mucus, but also in their mood and in their behavior. So this was a very important result for us. What were their main, let's say, their main opinions on TeenStar program? First, it's different and educative. Then it's inclusive. They also stated that their ideas are taken into account. It's entertaining and it makes our day better. We really ask them to go in a deepest ways in this statement and ask them, well, why? They said it is so encouraging to be learning about ourselves, that this makes our day better. So it was really a very, very nice experience, considering again that we were during the 2020 COVID pandemic. They were absolutely restrained in their houses. So it was a very difficult time. And for us to know that the TeenStar program and the charting of their cycle was an interesting activity, an entertaining activity, and that it made their day better, it was a lovely, lovely surprise. So I just wanted to share this with you. Really thank you for all of your presence and all of your work. Once again, let me thank Hannah Klaus. She's here with us for founding TeenStar, and hopefully we will be able to continue to deliver this program to many, many children and young around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Miguel. Really appreciate the presentation that they made for us, and we will have a chance to ask Miguel questions and of course all of our other speakers questions in the question and answer, which is coming up shortly. I have been seeing some questions in the chat for the Zoom chat. Thank you very much. Keep them coming. Allison's also monitoring the questions in the WOVA discussion chat, so keep those coming as well. WOM International has been attending the CSW and other UN events for several decades. A common experience for us is to hear comments from women in rural parts of the world who are looking for teachers to accompany them in learning and using the Billings ovulation method. In the past, it has been a challenge for us to train teachers to keep up with the pace of the demand. Needing to arrange in-person training in central locations was costly and time-consuming, and was a formidable barrier. Today, we have the opportunity to train teachers in natural family planning using distance education. Addressing that topic, I would like to introduce Bernadette Davies. She comes to us today from very early in the morning on March 9th from Adelaide, Australia. Bernadette graduated as a physiotherapist in 1978 and was accredited as a Billings ovulation method teacher in 1990. In 1998, she completed a certificate in the biology of the cervix with Professor Erik Odeblad from the University of Umeå, Sweden. Bernadette was the area administrator for Billings services in South Australia from 1990 to 2020 and has been involved in presenting teacher training programs in South Australia since 2000. She has also assisted in presenting TTPs, teacher training programs, in Melbourne, Sydney, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Vietnam, and Malaysia. Bernadette has been a tutor of the Billings ovulation method teacher training correspondence course since 2003 and took over coordinating the TTCC in 2018. Since 2008, Bernadette has been a continuing professional development representative for the Royal Australian College of General Practice and presents educational activities for their OJ and CPD program. In 2014, she worked with GP Dr. Kathy Peterson and OBGYN's Dr. Brendan Miller to set up the Fertility Fundamentals Clinic, incorporating fertility education and medical treatment as a natural alternative to IVF. In 2020, Bernadette was appointed as a director of WOM International Limited. So we welcome Bernadette here today. Bernadette, you're muted, I think. Unmute yourself.
Sorry, my mouse wouldn't work. Okay, hello, thank you. I will just try and get my mouse to share the screen and we will start. Okay, can everybody see that? I hope so. Okay, so thank you, Monica. Yes, as she said, I'm Bernadette Davies and a director of WOM and have been involved with the teacher training correspondence course for a very long time and had the pleasure of being appointed the director in 2018. And as she said, I've been invited to speak today on equipping and empowering women in the modern world through the Billings Ovulation Method Teacher Training Correspondence course, which educates and empowers women and girls, including those who belong to Indigenous and rural communities through the use of digital platforms. Oh, crumbs, not going to work. So, Drs. Joanna Neville and Billings of Melbourne, Australia, developed the Billings ovulation method in 1953. At that time, there was very little understanding of women's cycles. So Dr. John asked women to chart what was happening to them each day. He then formulated the rules of the method from the women's charted records. The Billings ovulation method empowers women to recognise their natural signs of fertility and infertility and to use that knowledge to achieve or postpone a pregnancy, and very importantly, to monitor their reproductive health. In 1978, Womb International was founded, and its aim is to provide affiliation to national organisations that became involved in disseminating this knowledge of fertility to women and girls within their own countries. And currently, 55 countries throughout the world now have their own womb-affiliated teaching and training centres. And that number increases every year. In 1981, as it's already been stated, there was following a 3-year study, the World Health Organization recognised the proven benefits of the Billings ovulation method for women and girls across all socioeconomic regions and noted it to be 97.2 to 97.8 effective in the natural spacing of children. And for nearly 70 years, the Billings ovulation method has been at the service of all women in aiding them with a true understanding of their fertility. And in fact, this is the 70th anniversary of the development of the method, and we are celebrating that at our Congress in Rome next month, which will be very exciting. Teachers of the Billings ovulation method help empower all women and girls through education, leading them to independence and self-determination. Significant advancements in communication technology have greatly enhanced the ability of Womb International to train and upskill teachers of the method of natural fertility management. As a forerunner in fertility education strategies, Womb International has navigated the digital age with innovative advances in technological communications by providing interactive computer programs to teach trainees for the development as teachers of excellence. While maintaining that physical in-person training in the Billings ovulation method is ideal, and as Miguel said, with COVID, that became very, very difficult, Womb International actively engages in providing thorough instructions to teacher trainees through all the currently available communications media. And these innovative advances are particularly apparent in developing countries whose industrialised infrastructure is replete with technological diffusion, enabling their populace to benefit from the processes of digitised training programs. And the photo in this slide is a teacher training program that's held in the Philippines. And they regularly do teacher training programs through digital platforms because people are so distant and it's so difficult to travel in Philippines and all the different islands. And so they've been regularly using this process to train teachers. And it's amazing what they're actually able to achieve there. The evolution of digital technology has provided the means for Womb International's teacher training correspondence course to be utilised both in remote areas and in virtual circumstances where physical in-person venues are unavailable. And the TTCC facilitates the training of new teachers and continuous upskilling of existing ones throughout the world to ensure accurate and authentic information is provided and disseminated to all. And the TTCC was created in 1987 to help train teachers in remote and particularly Indigenous communities in Australia, in the Australian outback. And it was sent by post, and all the workbooks and everything was sent by post, and then the exercises were completed and they were posted back for correction, and then they were posted back if there were any problems. And you can imagine it took quite a long time that way, but it was impossible to travel. You've got thousands of miles of outback where these Indigenous communities live, and for them to be taught and to be reached, this was the only way to do it. But by 2003, the TTCC was moving from postal correspondence to digital with the invention of the personal computer and emails, and moving from just training teachers in remote parts of Australia to training teachers all over the world, because other countries heard about the correspondence course, and especially women who were in isolated places or there wasn't an affiliate in their country, they wanted to learn. And so they started writing to Australia or emailing Australia and saying, please, can we be part of this? So the course objectives: all trainees will learn to interpret the patterns of fertility and infertility in the Women's Chartered Record by a study of at the anatomy and physiology of reproduction, male and female fertility, the science underpinning the method, and Billings ovulation method charting used through all reproductive life phases, used after stopping taking hormonal contraception and to achieve a pregnancy, and also the diagnostic benefits of the method. Teachers trained through the TTCC have become leaders and trainers in their own countries. And for example, in Billings, Hungary, a couple who did the course through Australia are now running the organisation in that country, including offering teacher training programs in Hungary. The chair of BOMA USA, which some of you will know, is of the BOMA USA Education Committee. She was trained through Australia. In WOMB Latin America, the TTCC has been translated into Spanish, and it is now being utilised to teach Spanish-speaking trainees. And one of their trainees is now the president of WOMB Ecuador. And WOMB Malaysia has just recently taken on the TTCC to train teachers in the more remote areas because of the difficulty of travelling in Malaysia. And they are currently translating the course into Iban and Chinese and Bahasa Malay. And WOMB Billings Life France, or WOMB's France Billings Life, through the use of the French TTCC, trained a couple in Benin who were instrumental in forming the WOMB Benin affiliate. And due to high numbers of teenage pregnancies, the Benin affiliate developed and presents sexual awareness programs to young women in secondary colleges to empower them to make informed decisions. And this photo is one group of those girls that they've worked with. And then the Benin affiliate then went on to organise the 2020 WOMB International Conference and Teacher Training Program. And from that conference, a large number of people from different African countries are now participating in the TTCC. And some who have completed their training through the correspondence course are now going on to train people in their own countries. And this photo is a group of Zimbabwean trainees who've been taught by a religious sister who attended Benin and who has completed her training through the TTCC, and she's now going on to training others in her country. So WOMB International and its licensed affiliates utilise webinars to consolidate trainee learning. And in WOMB Canada, they have monthly webinars so that people can see each other regularly. WOMB New Zealand use webinars to increase learning options. BOMA USA has created an online version of the TTCC to support training of health professionals. And Craig Zizetsky is part of that process. The affiliates in Belarus and Russia use digital technology to train Russian-speaking people, women in Eastern Europe and parts of Asia. OMR and RCA, the Australian affiliate, use digital technology to provide in-service for both tutors and trainees. And this is not an exhaustive list by any means. And WOMB International has developed digital programs to support trainees all over the globe. So WOMB International and its licensed affiliates have supported training of teachers in other countries, some of whom have formed an organisation to be affiliated with WOMB International. And WOMB France, again, through the use of the French TTCC, supported the affiliation of Burkina Faso in 2022. WOMB Latin America have supported training in several Central American countries who have gone on to form affiliates. And in 2022, the most recent of those was the Dominican Republic. And through WOMB International, several African countries, since Benin especially, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Ethiopia and Uganda, are currently being supported to train enough teachers to form an affiliate. And Louise Allard is going to present the video in a moment of what's going on in Uganda. So the use of webinars has enhanced the trainees' learning experiences, but the majority of the TTCC training is done through one-on-one tutoring to allow in-depth relationships to form and to create security for the trainees and newly accredited teachers. And the tutor will work with the trainee throughout the 9 theoretical sessions, and usually when they will then supervise their teaching practicum until the trainee is ready to apply for accreditation. Once accredited, the new trainee knows that the supervisor will be available for support for as long as necessary. And in actual fact, over the last couple of weeks, I've been helping one of my former trainees from Zambia, who was accredited about 2 years ago, and he needed advice about abnormal bleeding. So I've been communicating with him, trying to help him sort that out. And WOMB International regularly creates interactive digital teacher training and accredited teacher in-service programs that are presented at affiliate, regional and international conferences. And it also has developed digital programs to facilitate the professional development of accredited teachers. And the most recent is the Advanced Teacher Training Online course, or the ATOC, and Taking the Next Steps. And these particular programs are presented throughout the year. They're not necessarily associated with conferences or other programs. They're offered to affiliates throughout the year. And then the affiliates can also buy the licenses of these programs to show to their own teachers. And so WOMB International has further enhanced, and as has already been mentioned, has further enhanced its ability and connection to women and girls with the development of its first fully approved smartphone application, NFP Charting, which Alison mentioned, and Fertility Pinpoint about 2011, and most recently Billings App in 2020. And we are currently trialling an app in Croatia, and someone from Brazil has just very recently offered to develop another app. So these digital platforms allow the Billings Ovulation Method accredited teachers to review the charts of the women and girls who have requested their aid, and to monitor the education of women who are training to become Billings Ovulation Method teachers. And the WOMB International, the WOMB directors have always made it a requirement of all apps that the women using the app can automatically communicate with their teacher once sharing rights have been activated, and that supervisors also have access to the chart when a trainee is involved in teaching. So that these programs, these apps are being used as part of the teacher training program, that the trainees are always being supervised, and that anything they do is being checked by their accredited teacher who's supervising them. And tens of thousands of women and girls access these platforms, and this has enhanced the ability of the TTCC to reach out to more potential teachers of excellence. So finally, through the digital platform of the TTCC, WOMB International and its affiliates are able to train more people throughout the world to become Billings Ovulation Method teachers of excellence. The flow-on effect of this is that more women and girls, including those belonging to Indigenous and rural communities, are able to be empowered with an understanding of their fertility, allowing them to make truly informed decisions for the whole of their lives. So if you'd like more information, please visit our websites, www.wombinternational.org and www.billingslife.life, or email us directly at inquiries@wombinternational.org. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Bernadette. We are now going to hear an on-the-ground experience of participating in the teacher training program through the digital platform. I'd like to introduce to you Louise Allard, who will be introducing the video. Louise is a retired registered nurse and certified instructor and teacher training in the Billings Ovulation Method. She is the founder and president of Alliance for Life International, an organization through which she is engaged in education of the Billings Ovulation Method and support for maternal health in Uganda. Originally from Quebec, Canada, Louise now splits her time between Uganda and California. She has gathered some of the group of teachers in training and teacher trainees and is sharing a video of the encounter with us today. Louise, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Monica. A pleasure to join you from Uganda. Usually I live in California, but I probably spend half my time in Uganda. We are the beneficiaries of the teaching of Bernadette Davis. We are under her supervision as teacher trainers using the teacher training correspondence course. So we're very blessed to have Bernadette. Her presentation, I think you've seen that she has a wealth of experience teaching this program since 2003. I didn't know that it went that far back, but that's digitally. But before that, 1987, really using papers. So we are very blessed indeed. Our experience in Uganda is Emily is a teacher training like myself. Emily is from Uganda, and myself are engaged in supervising two teachers in training. And so we've been using only the digital program to do this. And so during the next 10 minutes, you will see the results of that teaching, our experience with it. Thank you so much.
Training correspondence course. Now, let me introduce our audience to our team here in Uganda. My left is Emily Iradukunda. She is a teacher trainer since 2014. And Olivia is a teacher in training using the current. And Susan is doing the same. As for me, I'm a teacher trainer since 2011. I have used different courses, in-person, 3-day training, and I'm a new supervisor using the correspondence course. I must point out that Olivia, as well as Susan, have taken the 3-day training course first. And that's important because it offers a great foundation to their new learning through the correspondence course. Now, I want to go to Olivia, and I want to hear, Olivia, what are the major challenges that you are encountering using the correspondence course?
Thank you, Louis. I'm glad to be part of this meeting. The challenges I'm encountering, one, poor internet access. Here in Uganda, internet is slow and unstable. So I have to wait till the internet is stable to do the work. Two, I had a challenge and I was starting of not having a computer and also data. However, I give thanks to Buildings for Life Center Uganda that came in and supported me with a computer and providing me with market data. Another challenge that I'm facing is using the applications on the computer to do homework.
Thank you so much for overcoming, Olivia. Thank you for persisting. And what about you, Susan? What are the difficulties you encounter?
Thank you. The difficulties encountering using this program, firstly, the program is data consuming since it has every documents to download, and still I have to upload after doing exercise. And to me, as a housewife, sometimes I don't have MBs. I have to wait for my husband to load for me, which takes a lot of time. Secondly, the challenge I'm encountering doing woman lines using the computer is so stressful, and printing, scanning, a form is costly for me because it needs some money and transport to reach the printing services. And lastly, running program concepts online has also become a challenge because they need some explanations from the teachers, and it's also costly for me to reach them since it needs some transport.
Thank you so much, Susan, for sharing, and also congratulations in persisting with the program. And I know you're already in session. So wonderful, thank you. And what about you, Emily? Emily has a different experience. She's a teacher that is supervising the student using the correspondence course, and that's her first time supervising students with that.
Okay, main challenge that I'm facing is providing teacher training for correspondence schools is time consuming because it involves marking, correcting the work, analyzing what they have written. Also, you have to download. It's time consuming because there are several sessions that you have to deal with. But since we want to produce, as we targeted to produce teachers this year, I have learned to prioritize, make sure that these teachers that we are training come out, self-trained. Then another challenge is power supply, which is unreliable. Here in Uganda, we have a problem of power supply. Today we have electricity, tomorrow we don't have, so it's a small challenge.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing it. And as for myself, I'm also a teacher trainer, and it was my first time learning to supervise a student using this course in correspondence. I've learned a lot under the supervision of Bernadette. So you see, there is two levels of supervision. One of the student and one that we are under supervision ourselves with Bernadette. It is time consuming. For me, that was a major obstacle, but I find wonderful resources from Bloom International. They have fully dedicated teachers for this correspondence course, and they are meeting the needs. At this stage, I would like to move the conversation to Emily to hear what are the benefits of learning this method online through correspondence.
Okay, we are getting into it. Maybe I will give you the benefits that you are online as a student of correspondence course.
Thank you, Emily. What I liked most with this course is that it's flexible because it allows me to do it at any time and also anywhere. Even when I can be traveling, I can as well be going through the work. And two, it gives me room to do it as I'm doing something else, like working. And it is also accommodating because sometime back when I was sick, I requested for an extension, which Bernadette did, and I'm continuing with that.
Chance to children, they are Thank you. The benefits of this program, first thing, the program is less time consuming. It doesn't need a lot of movements. I can do the work in my room, in my own house. Secondly, the benefit of this program is accommodative because even if you break, they can give you a second chance of the program. I myself, last year I was pregnant, I couldn't go on the program, but after giving birth, I was given another chance to go on with the program. Another benefit, the program is flexible. I can do the work anywhere, any time of my convenience, on my own place, and without any stress. Okay, thank you. This is our chance to hear from you.
Well, I hope that from maybe a different perspective, having used two programs now, which is the 3-4-day program in person, and now the correspondence course. And I realize that both programs for us in Uganda are essential in producing a quality teacher. And what am I basing my experience on is we have taught many teachers that went through the 3-day program, but few persist with it and become teachers. Few. And there are obstacles. They do not feel confident after just a 3-day training to go on, and even with supervision. And so therefore, this program offers additional work, very structured, with supervision and practice. And I believe that it's producing wonderful teachers. And Emily is an example. She went through both, and she's fully qualified as a teacher trainer even.
Yes, thank you so much. And on my own behalf, as someone who did that course, it has been beneficial to me because it has made me what I am. Because if the correspondence was not there, I wouldn't be a teacher who is helping second couples in Uganda learn the things of nutrition therapy. So that's my main benefit of the method. And also I want to thank you all for your submission. So in conclusion, I realize that the benefits outnumber the challenges.
So thank you very much for to all the presenters. And now is time for our question and answer. And so I welcome Allison to be the moderator for in-person questions. If you would like to ask a question, you can raise your hand and she will call on you. As you're forming your questions in your head and getting ready for that, I'd like to launch us off with a question that came in the chat. It was specifically for Julia about the app that she's developing. And the question was concerning the security of the app. She says, the questioner says, I totally see the support of natural family planning. However, are there concerns this data could be hacked, especially in the hostile environment in the USA right now?
Yes, thank you so much for that question, Holly. That's a really good question. And one of the things that is very important to us is data privacy. So we've actually begun work with various data privacy attorneys to try to figure out how to ensure that women's data is protected. So some of the actions that we've taken so far is first exploring HIPAA protection. So a lot of menstrual tracking, or actually, in fact, all of the menstrual tracking apps that exist today don't have HIPAA protection for their data. So we hope to be the first HIPAA protected app. Second, we are looking into anonymizing the data so that even if the data is hacked into, that there is no tie between what a woman is tracking and her name and other information about her, like her birth date. And then the last thing that we're looking into, which would protect women's data the most, is storing the data locally on a woman's phone instead of in a cloud, where there's more opportunity for hackers to access that. So it's something that's very important to us, just so that we can ensure all women of various backgrounds and beliefs feel safe using the app. Thank you for that question. I also see Kaylee is asking, what is the name of the app? The app is called the Birth Control app, and it's a digital contraceptive that uses the natural family planning method to avoid pregnancy naturally. We haven't launched it yet. I'm not sure if you saw the earlier presentation, but you can go to thebirthcontrolapp.com and join the waitlist to stay updated as we make more progress and launch it on the App Store.
So I'll reiterate what Monica said, that if you have a question and you would like to speak it out loud on the mic, just raise your hand. And the way you do that, you go to the bottom of your screen and you look at reactions. It's a little smiley face icon, and you can click that and you can raise your hand that way, or feel free to type your question in the chat box if you'd rather not speak on the microphone.
So while we're waiting for some hands up, I can bring another question from the Zoom chat. It's regarding TeenStar. Miguel, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but maybe you or someone else here can. Someone wants to know, is this program being used in the US? And if so, where?
Well, I know it has been used for many, many years in the US. I know for sure Washington, where Hannah did the lessons in the university. And also I know nowadays in Florida, I just forgot the city where Santiago is located, but I know in Florida it has been given out as well. But if Hannah would like to name some more cities in the US that have had received the TeenStar training program, I would be more than glad to hear that out. Hello, Hannah.
Hello. I'm delighted to see how much the program has, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, it's wonderful to see how much this program has grown. I do want to point out that we started TeenStar as a result of John Billings's invitation in 1978, because he said nobody's looking at the kids. So that's how we got to it. And we do have right now we have programs running in Detroit, and I'm not sorry, Detroit's coming in, but Denver, Tallahassee, Deacon Santiago Molina is our current executive director, and he's done a wonderful job. I was impressed by your presentation, Miguel. My goodness, your visuals are gorgeous, and it was wonderful to see how much you've done, Bernadette. You know, we're all old friends, so we're all together in this, and it's wonderful to see how much has happened. But teenstarprogram@gmail.org is the email address. You can get a whole lot more from Deacon Santi. Okay, God bless you all.
Thank you, Sister Hannah.
So as Allison is scanning for anybody who wants to ask in person, we had a question about the resources. Someone was asking about how to access the different resources. And I think specifically talking about the TeenStar. So Miguel, again, over to you if you want to talk about, is there a website where people can find the different resources for TeenStar? Where can we start?
Yes, there is a website. We have the International TeenStar website that I will be more than happy to put it on the chat in just a few seconds. And as Hannah said, if you want to contact TeenStar USA, the mail is teenstarprogram@gmail.com. So I will post these both names in the chat box. And if you would like to get in contact with TeenStar Chile, I will put our addresses as well. It is not that we are different TeenStar programs or whatsoever, but of course, we have many different branches around the world. So it depends if you are located in the US or outside the US, of course, that you will then be able to contact the nearest TeenStar branch on your location. Well, if I may answer the question that has already been posted in the chat regarding if the program advocates for abortion or birth, at least in the TeenStar program, we advocate for birth.
Okay, does anybody have any comments or questions I'd like to share with the group?
I don't see any hands, Monica.
I see Elizabeth
Oh,
Christensen.
Elizabeth. Oh, yep, now I see. All right, Elizabeth, yes.
I was not raising my hand. That was clapping for Miguel.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for the applause. We appreciate positive feedback for sure.
We need to get our emojis straight on the. So someone has asked what the different costs for the different apps are. Bernadette, I don't know if you have that information at your fingertips.
The Billings app is free. But there is a premium version if people want to opt for that, but they don't need to use the premium version. They can still access the teacher, and their teachers can still be supervised if they're trainees just with the free app. Both NFP Charting and Fertility Pinpoint offer a month's free trial, and then Fertility Pinpoint's $30 for a year or 50 Australian dollars for 3 years. And I'm not absolutely certain about NFP Charting what their fees are, because that'd be in American dollars.
They're
Alison, do you
$20.
know?
They're $20 for a year, and it's a free month. Charting. Now I do know the developer of NFP Charting, and so anybody that wants to learn from me or I have friends that are also teachers, I can actually get them 3 months of free charting with specific links and things like that. And Lawson is very free with the app. Like if I've got somebody that didn't use their 3 months, he'll go ahead and extend them, which is so great. He's wonderful. The other thing about NFP Charting is that if you're a teacher or even a teacher in training, you can have nfpcharting.com for free. And I think that the same for Fertility Pinpoint as well, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Bernadette? Yes.
Yes, it is. And Fertility Pinpoint, if there's real need, the developers are quite happy to give to sort of waive the fees or to reduce them if that helps. But yeah, I mean, for any of these things to keep them running, there is costs. So that if people can pay, that's appreciated. But obviously, if people can't pay, then one of the things that Drs. John and Lynn Billings always insisted is that every woman has a right to this, every couple has a right to this information, and finances should never, ever impinge on that. And so one of the things that the Billings teachers do is we as the correspondence course has a cost, but for people in real need, we'll waive the fee completely. We've got a lot of sponsored trainees that we work with in the poorer countries. And if a couple can't afford to pay, we'll teach them for free. It's always been part of the ethos of the Billings method, is that nobody should ever be denied this knowledge because they can't afford to pay for it.
Thank you, Bernadette. And we have some more applause, getting my emojis straight. Julia, I think we might be finishing off with a question for you regarding the birth control app. Will there be any connection directly to Billings teachers, or what is your thinking around that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question too. We definitely realize and know that women will likely have questions throughout their learning process, through the video education and throughout tracking, especially women with endometriosis or PCOS or women coming off of hormonal contraceptives that might be seeing, different patterns in cervical fluid. So our hope is and goal really is to connect women to Billings teachers or fertility coaches through the app for those women who have additional questions. Yeah.
Thank you.
I see Samara Salomon, her hand is up. Samira, would you like to ask your question?
Hello, I'm Samira Salomon. I live in Montpellier, in south of France. And I want to say you something because we talk about poor and country poor, but there is poor in rich country too. And we have to talk about this woman who live in rich country and need some help. I live in France, and I know in every rich country like France, United States, Australia, Germany, we have some of people who are poor, who need some help, who have some problem to get education, to have some practice of social media, to have access to medical, to learn.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you have a question? Because we're coming to the end of our time now. We'd like to finish.
Yes, I'm sorry, but I want to say what we can do for this woman too.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that question. I'm afraid that that's a little bit beyond the bounds of our theme for today. but I do reinforce what Bernadette just said about the mission of the Billings ovulation method, in that at its basis, there was this recognition that that all of the structures would be set up in a way that would be accessible to all. So thank you for reminding us that this should be our ever-present concern. So I'd like to finish with one last question for Louise. I noticed, Louise, in the video and the answer to the question about challenges, a lot of the challenges were around basic infrastructure, like access to data, to stable internet, to electricity. And I know personally, working with you when we've had meetings and things like that, that has been also a struggle. And so I'm wondering, are there other distance education courses or online platforms that people are using in Uganda? And how are they overcoming those challenges? How is what we're doing with the teacher training different or the same as other groups? Do you know anything about that? I think Louise is having trouble with her internet. So there we have part of the answer. I did ask that question because it strikes me that you know, and it sort of connects with what Samira was saying about how there isn't a level platform here, and even with something like digital education, it's always a question of access. And I wanted us to finish our session with that in mind, that it's very exciting to hear all of the advances that are being made and the very quick pivoting that so many of us made in being able to continue the good work that we do online during the pandemic. But we have to always remember that there's going to be challenges to access, and that when we're working with digital education, that should be part of our thinking, of our problem solving, and of our reaching out. So with that, I bring the session to a close, and I thank everyone who came to hear our presentation today on equipping and empowering women in the digital age. We are going to move on to the second part of our workshop, which is talking about the Billings ovulation method specifically. Everyone is welcome to stay for that. But I'll give a few minutes for people, if this is time for them to say farewell, that you can sign off now. And those who are staying, you will be treated to a short video, which will be a presentation of the Billings ovulation method. And then we'll open it up to question and answers specifically about the method. So if you are finding you're in a situation like Julia was a few years ago, where you couldn't find any answers to your questions, now's your chance. There are several accredited instructors on this online workshop, and we can also refer you to more private and individualized resources for instruction. So I am happy to see that many of you are continuing to stay. Let me just peruse the chat here to make sure we haven't missed. All right. Thank you for putting that information in the chat, Miguel and Julia. So anybody who is asking questions, make sure that you take a look at the chat. There are some actual links and other information for you there. All right, so I'm now going to play the video, and our video does not have a voiceover on it, but I will be doing the voiceover because I know sometimes when we're online, if we're joining by our phone or something like that, sometimes it's hard to read all of the subtitles. So I'm just going to do that now. And then I remind you that we will have an open Q&A afterwards. The knowledge of her body that every woman ought to have. Dr. Evelyn Billings. Billings ovulation method is a method of natural family planning that provides you with simple markers of your fertility and signal. This method is based on the knowledge that the women's cervix responds to the changing hormone levels throughout her menstrual cycle by producing different sorts of mucus. The cervical mucus is essential for sperm survival. Without it, it is impossible to conceive. The cervix acts like a biological valve. Open during menstruation, allowing for the menstrual flow. Closed with thick, dense mucus during the infertile phase, making it impossible for sperm to enter the uterus. Open during the fertile phase, producing mucus with physical and chemical properties which enable it to protect and nourish sperm cells and to guide them through the vagina. How can a woman identify when her cervix is open or closed? You are not asked to do anything other than pay attention to what your body is telling you. It is important that no internal examinations are done and the mucus is not physically touched. When the cervix is open during the fertile phase, the mucus being produced will flow to the outside of your body, where the vulva will sense its presence. As you go about your normal activities, by tuning into what your body is telling you, you will know when the mucus is present. As a woman walks about, she can tell when menstruation begins. She senses wetness at the vulva. In the same natural way, you will feel the presence of mucus when it begins and notices how it changes from time to time. You may notice that there are some days when you feel nothing at the vulva. You will learn to recognize this as your infertility. Other times you will notice the sensation changes and each day is a little different. This is telling you that at this time you are fertile. At the end of the day, you make a record of any bleeding and mucus that has been observed during the day, paying particular attention to vulval sensations. The cycle begins with menstruation or menses and ends at as the next menstruation starts. Regardless of the length of the woman's cycles, the fertile phase is usually about 5 to 8 days. This is a representation of the normal menstrual cycle or average, showing the different phases. Sorry, some of the words are covered by my screen things. We start with the bleeding phase, represented by the red section. This commonly lasts for 4 to 5 days, but the range can be much wider. Ovaries are not very active. Small amounts of estrogen and progesterone are circulating in the bloodstream. The basic infertile pattern is represented by the green-yellow section. This is a variable time of infertility before the egg cells begin to mature. Ovaries are still not very active. Small amounts of estrogen and progesterone are circulating in the bloodstream. The cervix is blocked by a thick plug of mucus, preventing the entry of sperm. Intercourse on these days cannot result in conception. Green indicates a basic infertile pattern of dry and no discharge seen. Yellow indicates a basic infertile pattern of discharge. The discharge feels and looks the same day after day. One woman will have only one type of basic infertile pattern in an average length cycle. The length of the cycle is determined by the basic infertile pattern. This pattern of dryness or discharge may continue for a few days in the cycle of average length, or even weeks when ovulation is delayed. In short cycles, there may be little or no days of the basic infertile pattern. The woman may be fertile during the bleed. Fertile section is represented by the white section and the 1, 2, 3 on the green color. Several nests of cells called follicles start to grow. The follicles release estrogen, which activates the cervix to produce mucus. This mucus signals fertility. Mucus nourishes and protects sperm. It carries the sperm through the cervix and sustains them on their journey through the uterus. While mucus is present, sperm can live for 3 to 5 days in the cervix, waiting for ovulation. Over these days, there will be changes in sensation around the opening of the vagina, the vulva, developing perhaps from dry to sticky to wet, bleeding to slippery. The discharge may look different each day. The changing pattern ends with a slippery sensation, often without any visible mucus. This is followed by a definite change to no longer slippery. The last day of the slippery sensation is known as the peak, marked below with an X. The peak is the day that sex is most likely to result in a pregnancy. The peak is the day that ovulation usually occurs, but in some cycles can occur up to 48 hours after the peak. After the release of the egg, it has a lifespan of about 12 hours, 24 hours at the most. The peak is the last day of slippery sensation. It is the day that ovulation usually occurs. Ovulation can occur day 1, or in a lesser number of cycles, day 2, past the peak. The egg can live for up to 24 hours after ovulation. When the egg cell leaves the follicle, the empty egg sac develops into a yellow structure called the corpus luteum, which produces both progesterone and estrogen. Progesterone causes a change in sensation and the production of the thick mucus, which begins to block the cervix again. By the end of the 3rd day after the peak, the cervix is completely closed by the mucus plug. Until that time, there are still channels of mucus for sperm transport and survival. After ovulation, the luteal phase is represented by the green section. Menstruation follows the peak 11 to 16 days later, unless conception has occurred. Infertility begins on the 4th morning after peak. Fertility is over for this cycle. The cervix is blocked with a thick plug of mucus. The egg is dead, and ovulation cannot occur again until the next cycle, which begins with menstruation. There can be days of dryness and days of discharge. This discharge is not fertility. Remember, the cervix is blocked with a thick plug, which is impenetrable to sperm. Sperm will die very quickly. Conception can occur can only occur when cervical mucus is present and for up to 3 days after the peak. It is not the day of the cycle that determines fertility, but the phase of the cycle. You will learn to recognize each of the phases. A woman is infertile, intercourse cannot result in pregnancy. A woman is fertile, intercourse can result in pregnancy. And then again, woman is infertile, intercourse cannot result in pregnancy. The fertile phase will be delayed in a long cycle, and there will be many more days of infertility. Sometimes you may experience changes from your basic infertile pattern and may notice fertile symptoms that do not progress to peak, or even some bleeding that is not menstruation, but instead the basic infertile pattern returns. It does not matter if this occurs, it is okay. You will recognize this as an interruption to your basic infertile pattern. The rules of the method cover delayed ovulation. You can confidently use the method, whatever the cycle length. Whether your cycles are regular or irregular, by using the Billings ovulation method, you can be confident in knowing whether on any particular day you are infertile or potentially fertile. You are in control regardless of whether you want to avoid or achieve a pregnancy. By keeping a simple chart, you have an accurate record of what is happening in your cycle. You will have an insight into your reproductive health. This method can be used through all of the different stages of a woman's reproductive life, including breastfeeding, weaning, approaching menopause, and times of stress, as well as post-hormonal contraception. In summary, if there is no mucus, sperm lose their capacity to fertilize the ovum and they die very quickly. Once mucus is present, sperm can live in the woman's body for 3 to 5 days before ovulation. There can only be 1 ovulation day per cycle. After ovulation, the ovum will live for less than 24 hours if not fertilized. How to start? Contact us and we can organize one of our qualified teachers to help you learn about your own unique patterns of fertility and infertility. You will quickly become confident that the record you are keeping is accurate and be assured that you are applying the rules correctly. This service is private and confidential.